done. Let me get myself up there. What's going on, everybody? Michael Paul there with Cage Titans. It is Table Titans. It's Monday night. It is Labor Day. So, honestly, we weren't going to do the show, but you know what? We went over the full fight card. We released it. What's up, Rob Pico? We released the entire fight card this weekend. We posted it up on our website, so go over and check it out, CageTitansFC.com right now, and you can check it out. But I figured instead of just scrapping Table Titans tonight, I'd come on for a quick, 10, 15 minutes and just kind of run down the card and kind of give you the breakdown of every fight, just so you hear it from my mouth to your ears and give it a breakdown. Yes, I am working on a Labor Day. I was already up at Coops, back home now. Kids are in bed, getting ready for school tomorrow morning. I'm trying to keep my voice down, but that doesn't always work. But like I mentioned, CageTitansFC.com, we just released the entire fight card. Cage Titans 61 going down Saturday, September 23rd. We're a little under 3 weeks away. And, tickets are on sale, CageTitansFC.com for the tickets. You can also go get tickets from any one of your favorite fighters. All the fighters should have tickets by now. And if they don't, they're in process of getting them tomorrow because today was a holiday, so the mail might have been delayed today. So there you have it. That's kind of all of our homework to get that stuff out of the way. But yeah, man, let's get right to it. Like, you know what? That's what you're here for. I want to kind of break it down for you guys. So let's go. I'm going to go right to our website, CageTitansFC.com. It is up there now. And we'll just start right out the gate. We have a Muay Thai fight starting us off. First fight of the night, Connor Luby out of Team Burgess up in New Hampshire. He is making his Cage Titans debut. I want to say Burgess's team has not fought on a Cage Titans card probably since 2012 when we did Cage Titans in New Hampshire at the Dover Ice Arena, Live Free, Fight Hard. So it's been a long time these guys have made their way down from New Hampshire. Actually, the first time I think they made their way down from New Hampshire, because like I just said, we fought up in New Hampshire when we did the last card that they fought for us. But either way, enough of my long-windedness. The Muay Thai bout is going to kick us off. Connor Luby out of Team Burgess at 155, taking on Josh Robertson out of Triforce. Guys, if you've been around Cage Titans, Triforce is a force in the Cage Titans cage. They're always bringing a group of guys rip-roaring, ready to go, some absolute studs. This fight starting us off is going to be a banger. I know Burgess is new to the Cage Titans since it's been a long time, but they're ran by Nate Lamont. They got a stud school up there. They tear through everybody up in New Hampshire and in Maine when they fight normally up there. So we're pretty pumped to get them down here. And who better to welcome them than a stud from Triforce. So our first fight of the night is going to be a Muay Thai bout at 155 pounds. Connor Luby taking on Josh Robertson. What else do we got? So we actually got two Muay Thai fights. We're going to follow that up. We're going to get the Muay Thai right out the gate, get everybody get going. Next up, we have a Muay Thai bout, also lightweight, Paul Huber out of Citadel, who's 1-1. He's taking on Mike Salazar out of Regiment. Regiment has Mitch Raposo, Aaron Hughes, all those great guys, fighters out of there. Brandon DeMore, who's also on this card. Carter Whitty, who's also on this card. So he's looking to start things off on the right foot for Team Regiment. Mike Salazar taking on Paul Huber. Paul Huber, he's out of Citadel. It's his first time in Cage Titans. He has fought for No Boundary. I believe he's 1-1 inside of their ring. His first time competing inside a cage, though, for Muay Thai. The likes of Lionel Young, Don Shanish, Trevor Goody, Jadafer, Ojoku. So a bunch of studs at that school. Two great gyms going at it. Paul Huber out of Citadel taking on Mike Salazar out of Regiment in our second fight of the night. Let's go Newport Mike Salazar. There you go. Aaron Hughes giving his vote of confidence to Salazar. I will tell you this. I don't have a picture of Salazar, so I got one sent to me today. This kid is cut from granite, man. This kid's in great shape, and I'm. It's weird to say, but I'm even a little bit more excited seeing how good shape he is and knowing the studs he's working out. He's definitely not skimping on gym time. I'll tell you that much. So there we got our second fight. He's made of stone, Carter Whitty. He definitely is. It's funny. Brian sent me a picture. And I'll keep the comments that we had back and forth. We had a little fun back and forth over the picture. I just probably got it about an hour ago. So be on the lookout for that matchup card. Next up is our first MMA fight of the night. And we have, listen, I'm just going to get it out of the way. I'm going to probably say banger. I'm excited for this matchup probably 17 times because there's 17 fights. I'm going to say it before everyone because honestly, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's just so many fights that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this one. Oh, I can't wait for that one. And you'll see why as we go through the card. Next up, we have Brian Nichols out of North Andover, Kyle Bochniak's school. And this is, I think, the first time he's actually kind of stamping somebody as his guy. He was a longtime student of Broadway Jiu-Jitsu, and he worked out with those guys. And he finally opened his own school, North Andover Jiu-Jitsu. And I believe this is the first time somebody that is repping his gym will be fighting. Brian Nichols out of North Andover Jiu-Jitsu, making his debut, and he's taking on another debuter in Ryan Kennedy, who's debuting out of Lausanne's. Both these schools are ran by ex-UFC guys. Joe Lauzon out of Lausanne MMA with Ryan Kennedy, squaring off with Kyle Bochniak's North Andover Jiu-Jitsu student and Brian Nichols. This is a lightweight match, 2 debuts. They always say you don't know what you're going to get when you have debuts, but I know we're getting some future stars in this matchup because they're coming from 2 stud schools, Lauzon's and Kyle Bochniak's school. Also, fun fact, Brian Nichols, you'll be hearing that Nichols last name a little bit later on in this rundown. His younger brother, Blaze Nichols, if you remember him from March 18th. So this is the older brother of Blaze Nichols, who debuted with Cage Titans back on March 18th in victory against Carlos Ballester. He's back, so you're going to hear Blaze a little bit later, but here's Brian, his older brother. He saw what his younger brother did in there, and he probably wants to one-up him, but for the Nichols brothers, he's the first one-up of the night. There we go. Just make sure I'm good on comments. All right, so then we're going to go down to the 135 bantamweight division amateur ranks. Ash Rao, I think they call him the Captain India. I think Nick will have to correct me. He's a former Indian model, and I always put that out there because John Clark from Broadway Jiu-Jitsu, he loves to put that in my ear. And he said, anytime we book him, you better say Indian male model. If you don't, I'm pulling him off the card. So there you have it. The former Indian male model, Ash Rao, Captain India from Broadway Jiu-Jitsu, taking on Brandon Demora out of Regiment. Brandon Demora is a stud. This kid has had some tall tasks in his amateur career. He's 2-3, and somebody be like, oh, why are you talking so highly of him? Go look at his record and see some of the studs he's fought. He's taken the amateurs for what they're worth, like the most experienced, the toughest fights to really test his mettle to see what he's all about before he goes pro. Brandon Demora has been around for a little while. He made his debut shortly after his high school graduation when he turned 18. He's been in there with some studs. This kid's battle tested, and he's taking on Ash Rao, who's 1-0-1. And that one draw, I just want to remind everybody, that was at 150 pounds when he fought future Cage Titans amateur champion Miguel Savesin. So now he's at his more comfortable weight at 135. But should just give you a little bit of idea on Ash Rao's skill level. This kid's a 135er who went up and competed and went to a draw with Cage Titans amateur lightweight champion Miguel Savesin. A big feather in his cap. But Ash Rao taking on Brandon Demora, gonna be a banger of a fight. Another absolute problem. There you go, Brandon Demora. And he is the second of, I think, 3 regiment fighters on this card. So here we go. Let's go to our next fight. Next up, we have Ryan Wackrow out of the Guerrilla Crew, Jake Pillar's school, and up on the North Shore. I'm not exactly sure what town it's in, but Jake Pillar, if you know him, he's a stud ripping up the bantamweight scene. He's fighting next week for the Combat FC bantamweight title. So I'm sure the vibe in that school is great as you're seeing your head coach get ready for a title fight, and you guys are all vibing off him. But Ryan Wackrow out of the Guerrilla Crew taking on Kyle Schofield out of Camp Kong. Camp Kong, this is Kin Kon Moy, his protege. He's been talking to me for over a year. Some injuries kept this kid away from making his debut. And Kin, if you watch us on TikTok Tuesday, we go at 12 o'clock. We go live every Tuesday, myself and Kin. He kind of gave some insight. Some injury bugs have been holding Kyle back, and he thought this was going to be doomed. He was like, I've been putting all this time and effort and training this kid. Every time he's getting ready for a fight, he gets hurt. Maybe it's just not meant to be. He told me this was the last time he's putting his name in. Put his name in. He's healthy. He's rip roaring, ready to go. He's taking on Ryan Wackrow. This fight should be a good time because we were talking about earlier with North Andover and Kyle Bochniak, and now he's seeing some of his, former UFC guy, former stud on the local scene, now dipping his toes into training fighters. That's similar to what his opponent was at that time, Joe Lozon, who's got into the coaching ranks, and you're seeing his guys. Here's the similar situation with Ken Moy. Ken Moy was legendary, one of the top bantamweights in New England for the last 10, 12 years. And since he's retired, he's really kind of taken on a more mentor approach and coaching approach. And this is the first time he's going to have somebody repping his name step inside the cage. And what's fun about this match, and, I go back to that same match I just talked about, Kyle Bochniak, student Brandon Nichols, and Ryan Kennedy out of Lozon, two former UFC guys going at it. I love this match because this is kind of the old regime, Kim Kong Moy, who was, the last 15 years, one of the top bantamweights in New England, and his student fighting Jake Pillar's student, Ryan Wackrow, who Jake Pillar is kind of like the future of the bantamweight division here in New England. As I mentioned earlier, he's fighting for a title next week at a different promotion. So now their students are going at it. So it's a little fun thing. You might be like, why are you getting so giddy about it? For me, who's been doing Cage Titans for 14, 15 years, I just love seeing the evolution and kind of like, guys that first made their debuts at Cage Titans. Then they went on to amateur titles. Then they went pro. Then they went to pro titles. Then they went to the UFC. And now here they are full circle now, like instilling that knowledge into the next wave of fighters. So, again, you might not give two shits and you're like, Mike, stop rambling about this. But to me, it's very cool to see. And I really enjoy seeing it. So there you have it. Ryan Wackrow out of the Guerrilla Crew, Jake Pillar School taking on Kyle Schofield out of Camp Kong, Ken Moy School. Fun fact as well, Ryan Wackrow just got back today. He was out in Thailand training for this matchup. So there you have it. Another little fun fact that make this fight a little more interesting. Next up, you heard me talk about him earlier. Here I am back talking about the Nichols again. Blaze Nichols is up next in our next fight at 145, taking on Carter Whitty out of Regiment. So Blaze Nichols, I mentioned earlier, he's the younger brother of Brian Nichols, who's fighting earlier in the night. Blaze made his debut back on March 18th, Cage Titans event, the day-night doubleheader on the daytime card. Huge victory against Carlos Ballester. That fight was insane to me. Blaze, go look up a picture of him. I said this the other day. Go look up a picture of him, and it's just like the complete opposite of what you would think as a fighter. And he's just stoic, just like a young, like he looks like you pick him off the middle school playground and you'd probably pick on him, some of you bullies out there. But he's just very stoic. His opponent back at weigh-ins, back when he made his debut, I remember I was standing there and he was just like in his face, I'm going to F you up. And Blaze just unfazed. He carried that like real stoic approach into the cage, picked up the victory. So he's back here. He's competing on the same card of his brother, so he's going to have a little extra motivation, and he's taking on Carter Whitty. Carter Whitty, you saw make his debut last Cage Titans in the Muay Thai realm, and now he's ready to put it all together. I've talked about Regiment a few times, Aaron Hughes, Mitch Raposo, all the studs over there. I hear this kid is legit as they come. I'm excited to see what he can do inside the MMA cage now. He was undefeated as a Muay Thai fighter. So Blaze Nichols taking on Carter Whitty at 145 pounds. And I just noticed as I'm looking at it, I typed it as 155 on our website, but it is 145. So you don't have to point it out to me. All right, let's see. I'm going to catch up on let's talk about Josh Marsh taking the belt back to Florida. Dave Sutton. I'm going in order. Bottom up. So stick around for the rest of the show and I'll get into Josh Marsh. Can't wait for Valdina's return. Do you guys have any clue when he'll be back? I am hoping Valdina did say he has something big in store for November. So I'm hoping for November 11th. We have not put any pen to paper and finalized anything, but the wheels are in motion. So looking like November. Love you, Cage Titans. Never failed this home as you do it. Listen, man, everybody makes Cage Titans what it is. I'm glad you feel at home, from the fighters to the fans to the coaches to everybody that makes it possible. Everybody is part of our events, and you should all feel at home. So I appreciate that. What else we got? I told everyone in the last show about how Carter Whitty is an animal, excited for his MMA. Yes, exactly. You're doing a full card overview. Yeah, I'm kind of doing it quick. I said I was going to go quick because I got to get the kids ready tomorrow, and I was not going to do a show. Andy and I kind of decided not to do tonight, but we took last week off. So I had to come down and give you a quick rundown. It is also on our website. If you want to go over to our website, you can check it out on our website as well. How about a big fat no? I don't know what you're saying, Rob Pico. That must be just something I said earlier. So I don't know. And yes, take off work November 11th. Gotcha. All right, getting back to the card. Next up, oh man, I told you every fight on this card is just like, oh wait, here's another good. Next up, Danny Jefferson, 2-0, undefeated out of Broadway Jiu-Jitsu, taking on undefeated 1-0 Travis Soulard out of Triforce. Danny Jefferson has just been unstoppable in his 2 fights, and I don't know what to say. This kid's just been a stud, and he's just looked unstoppable in his 2 fights. But we think we might have somebody who might be standing his way and put a stop to him, and that's Travis Soulard. Travis Soulard made his debut last Cage Titans, but I've been hearing so much about this kid from my boy Richie Santiago has been telling me about him for months and months and months, how much of a stud this kid is. I believe he's a brown belt, a black belt in Taekwondo. So it's like, if you want to stand with him, he'll kick your head off. If you want to go to the ground with him, he'll choke you or take an arm home. Like, this guy is dynamic on both sides. Whether you stand or whether you go to the ground, Travis Soulard. These are guys that I feel like we're seeing them very early in their career, and probably 3, 4, 5 years down the line, they're probably going to look back. We'll look back at this fight and be like, remember when those 2 studs fought each other? Time kind of does that, because if you look at, I was just talking about somebody, Peter Barrett versus TJ Brown. At the time, it was a great fight, but at the time, it was like a fight that was, all right, Peter Barrett is fighting, trying to make his way through Cage Titans. Who's this guy, TJ Brown, coming from out of town? He had a Metza record. He comes out, beats Peter Barrett. 3 years later, they're both on the Contender Series. The same exact night, they both won on the Contender Series, and they both got awarded contracts on the Contender Series a few years later. And then you look back at that fight, and you're like, wow, we didn't know we were going to have 2 future UFC guys fighting each other at a Cage Titans event. Same thing, Manny Bermudez and Tony Gravely. I remember back to that fight, and Gravely came in, got submitted in like the first round by Manny, and Manny went on and ceremoniously went from Cage Titans to the UFC. And then a few years later, Gravely's in the UFC, and he's still in the UFC doing his thing, and they fought at Cage Titans. So this is one of those fights that I think a few years down the line, you might be like, you really appreciate that they fought so early in their career at Cage Titans. Moving on. All right. There we go again. I've already talked about this fight before. Phil Lucino, the Bambino Lucino, out of Sid Yatong, taking on Xavier Cardona out of Lakeville MMA. You might see the big smile on my face, and you're like, why are you so excited? Maybe if you're one of those casual fans who only go by records. Both these guys are 2-3, and you might be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, but I'll tell you this. Their records are very deceiving. Xavier Cardona was a former Cage Titans amateur title challenger when he took on Shane Doherty, when no one in New England wanted to fight Shane Doherty. This kid literally showed up to the press conference off the landscaping fields in his work boots and his tire, does the press conference. He's like, listen, kid, you're the next coming of God in New England MMA, but I'm telling you this, you never felt a punch when it comes from someone like me as a grown man. And everybody just kind of wrote Xavier off. And in that first few minutes of that fight, he cracked Doherty, had him wheeling. And the first time probably ever in Doherty's career, people were like, oh, shit. And he was in danger. Obviously, he rebounded and was able to pick up the victory over Xavier. But that tells you what kind of fighter Xavier is. He's coming at you full steam ahead, looking to take your head off. And that is exactly what Bambino Lucino is all about. This kid made his debut at Cage Titans in a Fight of the Year contender. He might have actually won it. His follow-up contest to that was another Fight of the Year contender, which he may be 1 or 2-time Fight of the Year winner over the last 2 years. This kid is just dynamite. Don't get a beer during this fight. Don't do anything besides keep your eyes locked on the cage, because these guys are kill or be killed. And I'm telling you, you guys are going to be entertained. Banger of a fight, Rob Pico. You know what's up. Yeah, man, it's amazing how many Amy Cage Titans fighters usually filled with potential. When Mike loves a fight, he'll be a fight of the night candidate. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I'm always excited about every fight. I even got to the pros. But here we go. And here we go again. Timmy Melvin, Mayday Melvin out of Broadway Jiu-Jitsu, undefeated, 2-0, 2 knockouts, taking on this absolute beast in Jaden Curley, who's undefeated out of BT Teton. Jaden Curley, stud wrestler at the high school level, wrestles in college out of Roger Williams. And he's a guy that no one wants to fight, especially after his debut fight back. I think he made his debut in March or January. Either way, whatever. I digress. He took the last few months off during wrestling season because, as I mentioned, he's a wrestler at Roger Williams, but he is back. He had a few guys sign up, accept the fight for our last event in July, and pull out, day or two later. And we weren't able to secure anybody for July, but he stayed patiently waiting, and we finally got somebody to get in there with him for September. And that man is Mayday Melvin. Do not underestimate this kid. I'll tell you right now, his coach from Broadway, we kind of joked. We're like, man, this kid's a fighter. And he's like, dude, I don't know. We're going to see when he gets in there. Because as we joked, sometimes you got guys that in the gym, you just don't know how they're going to react when they get in the cage. And Timmy's just kind of very unassuming, just there. And that first fight he got in there, holy shit, this guy is a murderer. He took out both his opponents in both of his fights. He's just he's that guy that when the cage door closes, it clicks. Kinmoy on our TikTok Tuesdays kind of mentioned, he's he kind of has he has that psychopath tendency look to him, unassuming, this kind of guy just chilling out there, blank stare. And then he gets in there and he's just, like I said, he's just murderer. This fight's going to be bananas. There you go. Timmy Melvin put his undefeated record on the line against Jaden Curley. I share your excitement. Thank you for sharing the excitement with me. I'm getting excited. I was getting so excited that I was going to be trying to share the matchup cards so you can see these pictures at the same time, but I just keep talking because I'm pumped up about this, so I haven't. But let me see if I can get, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. You know what? I'll kind of go through, and then we'll just do a rapid fire picture. You know what? Screw it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Give me a second here, guys. I'm going to pull it up. Both bank. And we're going to go. Let's see if this will work. Bank. All right, cool. So there we have it. So now I got to get back to it. But anyways, it just so happens this is the next fight I was going to talk about. This fight just fell into our lap, and oh my, what a fight it's going to be. We have Sahib Jackson taking on Anthony Ofiale for the Cage Titans lightweight amateur title. We had 2 title fights at the top of the card, and it was just kind of we weren't going to have any amateur title fights, and that's kind of what our base is. We're always backfilling that lot. As great as the pros are, we never fall short of delivering with some stud amateurs and amateur title fights. And here we are with one that just fell in our lap. Sahib Jackson, undefeated, 3-0 out of Triforce, taking on Anthony Ofiale out of Russell Leake's underdog BJJ, also undefeated, 2-0. 2 great gentlemen, 2 guys with huge upside. Anthony Ofiale, fun fact, he's a police officer down in Connecticut. Sahib, I believe he's a former military. Richie told me he might have been Marines, might have been Army. He wasn't really sure. But, so outside of their fighting world, they've given themselves to law enforcement, military. So two great gentlemen. There come one, Sahib's from Rhode Island, Anthony Ofiale is from Connecticut. So here in Massachusetts, I just want you to know that these two guys have given outside of the cage as well. So make sure we cheer for both of them and give them a warm, heartfelt welcome when they get into the cage. And I will tell you this, I promise you they're going to deliver a banger of a fight. Both these guys are guys that no one wanted to fight. And, that's kind of what's great about Cage Titans and our amateur titles. Like, we don't care that you're from Connecticut. We don't care that you're from Rhode Island. If you think you're one of the best in New England, we want to put you in our cage and put you in there for one of our titles, because we want to know we have the best fighters inside New England, whether you sell tickets, you're from out of state or not. And that's what we have in this fight. A long lineage of amateur lightweight title holders. Kyle Bochniak, who we were talking about earlier, Joe Giannetti, Miguel Savesin. The list goes on and on. Bobby Flynn, who we'll talk about later. Peter Barrett, lightweight champion. You know what? I'm just for fun, I'm going to go real quick to champion club page. So Joe Pingatore, Rob Font. There you go. I almost forgot him. Yes, that Rob Font, top 10 UFC fighter at the bantamweight division, was our lightweight champion as an amateur. Bobby Flynn, Jimmy Manning, Don Shamus, another name UFC guy, Joe Giannetti, Chris O'Brien, Matt Bina, Ryan Bartholomew, Eddie George, who just fought in the PFL. So, man, long line of lightweight title holders. And I'm sure one of these guys, when they pull away with it, maybe one day we'll be talking about them with some of the greats. Let's see if I can go to the next one. So hold on. Let's just get caught up with the comments. So there you go. I'm going to pull that down. Let's see what the comments. Jackson for the win. Okay. He's already putting it. What town in Connecticut? My daughter lives in New London. Somebody, if you're watching from Russell Leaks area, maybe you can help me out. I'm not really sure where, Mitch. Plymouth is everyone's hometown. And I wish I could have think of that. We were here earlier when Smalls in the Flesh was saying we make everyone feel at home. Maybe that's what it is about Plymouth, is that we're everybody's hometown. So maybe that's why everybody feels just a little something special and feels so welcome when they come to Plymouth Memorial Hall, no matter where they're from. So Plymouth is everyone's hometown. Love it, Rob Pinko. Yes, Rob Font and Joe Giannetti were in the same weight class. But years and years apart. Rob Font made his amateur debut with Cage Titans, lost that fight probably in 2011, went on to win our lightweight title, then eventually fought locally at 45 and 55, bounced between the two before going to the UFC and settling in at bantamweight. And as for Giannetti, yes, he's always been a lightweight and sometimes welterweight. So there you go. All right, so that concludes our undercard. These are amateur fights. And now, without further ado, let's get to the pro fights. Let's see. Here we go. This one is going to be, why isn't it up there? There we go. See if it worked. Did it work? Give me a thumbs up. Perfect. There you go. This is actually a rematch. Our first professional fight of the night. We have 7 pro fights going on. The first 10 fights I just broke down. Next 7 are all professional fights. And first up is a rematch. Hassan Graham, the bounty hunter, former Cage Titans amateur heavyweight champion, who was a fighter of the year in 2022, knockout of the year in 2022. This kid just burst onto the scenes, made his pro debut in the same year. I think he went 4-0 on the year. He fought for Cage Titans, won the title for Cage Titans, defended his title for Cage Titans, went pro, and won via finish in all those fights. But he's taking on Max Lombardo out of Connecticut. And this is a rematch. Max and Graham fought for Premier FC, I believe. And Graham's maybe first or second amateur fight before he made his way to Cage Titans. Same thing with Max. They fought as amateurs. The story on this fight in their first outing was Max was winning the fight handily in the first and second round. And those hammers finally found a home. And in the third round, Graham was able to pick up the come from behind knockout victory. It's going to be very interesting to see how these guys have progressed so far from that first fight. Let's see if Max has made the adjustments to kind of finish out that fight strong. Let's see if Graham's made those adjustments. This is an interesting fight as well. I hate giving insider information that might be personal, but I think this will tell the story of this fight. Whenever I offer fights, it's not, sometimes they don't even ask. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll take it. And somebody else will be like, oh, yeah, I'll take it. And that's sometimes how it goes. But in some instances, I'll take it, but I doubt he will. And that's what I got in this fight. And I'm not going to tell you who said it, but I did get, I'll take it, but I doubt he will. And I was like, interesting. Don't get that too often. Then I went to the other side, and without hesitation, the other side was like, yeah, I got this. I'll take it. So I'm not going to share who was who, but I'll just tell you that put an interesting spin in my mind why this matchup should be interesting. In addition to all the things I already talked about, they've already fought once. We already had the winner, but now they're pro. Now it counts. And they're both at a very interesting spot in the career. Hassan won his pro debut, then went on to the PFL, and he came out short. Like, not many guys have one fight and they get signed up to the PFL, which Hassan did. He fell short in that because I think it was a little early in his career. So now he's back. And as for Max Lombard, time is not on his side. He doesn't have tons of years left of his career as he's a little older than most guys. So he's 1-1. Hassan's 1-1. As Max is going to kind of go on a little bit of run. That's why this fight's important. Or maybe he just sits back and settles back into coaching, which he's been running the team over at Cage USA. So very interesting point for both these fighters. A lot of backstories. I could probably go down a whole list of them for you. I'm trying to keep it short today, which I'm horribly failing in, but there you go. Hassan Graham taking on Max Lombardo. I got to keep saying Lombardo. So there you go. Now our next fight, let's see if I can get to it. Here we go. Let's see. Come on. Trying to get to it, guys. Where is it? Sorry, I'm scrolling behind the scenes. There we go. So let's see if this works. Bam, add to stream. Doesn't look like it's working for me. Try one more time. If it doesn't work, I'm quitting. Oh, there we go. Miguel Mother effing Savesin taking on Oscar Vera. Miguel's making his professional debut at a catchweight 160, taking on Oscar Vera. Oscar has fought. He made his pro debut at Bellator. He's fought a few times at Bellator. He's had boxing matches, MMA fights, amateur MMA. This kid's been doing it for a while now, and he's welcoming Miguel Savesin to the pro ranks. This fight is interesting for me because you heard me say about the last fight. In the pros, it actually counts. As amateurs, it's about getting experience, maybe some accolades if you get a championship, amateur championship, things like that for fun. But it's about the experience. And then once you go pro, now it's for good. Like, now your record stays your record. It doesn't get erased again. So your amateurs, it gets erased, then you go pro. So, the interesting piece of this is that Miguel loves to throw hands. He loves to sling leather. He loves to stand in the pocket and be a gunslinger. And Oscar Vera, that's what he does as well. And where he's fell short, he's had a couple hiccups in his career so far. He's 0-4, 0-5. It's when people take him down. And that's the intrigue of this fight. Will Miguel fall into the Miguel habits of just standing there and gunslinging? Or will he take the least path of resistance to victory, which has seemed to be taking Oscar Vera down? On the flip side, Oscar Vera, has he fixed those holes in his game where, he's been with a couple good teams and he's kind of settled in, not only at a boxing gym, he's at a jiu-jitsu gym. So has he filled those holes to kind of, if it does go to the ground, stifle him with his jiu-jitsu? We will see, but it's a great fight, especially for a debuting guy like Miguel Savesin. And it's a good spot for Oscar Vera taking on a guy like Miguel because, it's a solid fight for both guys and to see where they're going to go in their career. What do we got? Miggy had an amazing last fight. Holy shit, that fight was crazy with Sergey Paransuko. So there you go. Let's see what else I got. No, we already went over that. Here we go. Maybe I should just go to the one in order, but here we go. We'll go to this one. Bang. If it shows up. All right, next up, we have the return of Bobby Flynn. Bobby Flynn, I talked about him earlier in the long list of Bobby Flynn. He's talking about Sylvester, and then boom, here we are. There's your beautiful face on the screen. Bobby Flynn, I talked about a little earlier about the long list of great Cage Titans amateur lightweight champions. Bobby Flynn was a guy that was competing, I think, in 2011, even before that. And he had a tremendous run, amateur titles, things like that. Then he went pro and had moderate success here and there, in his 5-4 record. Had some tough fights, had some great fights where he looked unstoppable. He retired probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't even remember what it was. And I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he can sneak it in the comments or something, but something gave him the itch that he wanted to throw his hat in the cage again and maybe make one last run. Bobby's been a long-time friend, great dude, and I'm stoked to see him and Scotty Ream, getting back in there and making that walk as a team once again out of Pro Elite down in the Cape. And he's taking on Sage Philippe. Sage Philippe, if you remember, went to absolute war with Marty Navis. Came up real short in that split decision victory. Many people thought Sage won. Looked like an animal in that fight. He's an absolute stud beast. He then went on to take on Aaron Tercel, who you might remember, Earthquake, who was victorious against Shane Delahaye a few events ago. Sage went to another promotion, actually beat him by dominating decision, and he's looking to resurrect his career. Sage is at a point where he's won his last 2 and to get his record to 4-5 now, and he wants to make a run. I believe for this camp he went out to Las Vegas, and he's trying to fill the holes in his game to really come well-rounded MMA fighter. And he has Bobby Flynn, who is as well-rounded as they come. This guy's boxed. He might be a brown belt. He might even be a black belt by this point in time. I remember back when he won the amateur title over Peter Barrett. He was a purple belt. I think he flying armbarred Peter Barrett in their title fight. Injuries occurred, but it was Emmy welterweight war. Amazing. Sage is an absolute beast, honored. And Sage is a beast. And the cool fun fact about this as well, Sage and Flynn, they have been in the training room together when Bobby was living out in Western Mass. So they've been in the training room. They've had their hands on each other. They felt each other in the practice room. And they both were a resounding yes when I asked if they wanted to take the fight. They both looking to test themselves. No animosity, no bad blood, nothing like that. They were just like, man, I'm looking to take a fight to test myself. And that's what we have. It's going to be an amazing fight. Bobby Flynn making his long return against Sage Philippe. And this has some fun because this will definitely spice up the welterweight division. Let's go. Speaking of the welterweight division, let's get to it. Sorry, you got to deal with me doing it because I'm kind of scrolling. But here we go. Next up in the welterweight division, Sam Wofford over here, bang, over there to the right, whatever. This guy burst onto the Cage Titan scene. He came into the fight last event against Pat Casey, who Pat Casey was victorious over Marty Navis and burst onto the scene with Cage Titans back in May. And he looked like the next best thing, big thing at welterweight within Cage Titans when Casey came back. And he was matched up with Sam Wofford, who came in with just a 3-5 record, and people kind of wrote him off. This was going to be another back-to-back win, and Casey's kind of soar to the top. And Wofford was just not on my watch. He couldn't get a ride to weigh-ins. We had to pick him up for the day of the fight. He weighed in at 5 o'clock at 170 in his clothes, rip roaring, ready to go. Just I'm here. Let's get this on. Many people are like, oh, is he just showing up to get a check? Sam Wofford is not that guy. Records do not tell the story. And this kid went out and he had a tremendous performance taking out Pat Casey. He is back and he has another tall task ahead of him in Cam Ruznicki. Cam Ruznicki is undefeated amateur, undefeated pro. Injury has kept him on the sideline for a few years since COVID. But everybody who talks about Cam tells me that this guy, actually, Amanda Ferrer just caught my eye in the comments. Cam is coming to kill. Everybody that talks about Cam tells me that Cam is the prospect at 170. To watch out for him. He's been a prospect when he was undefeated and winning titles as an amateur. His pro career is kind of he's only 2-0. He hasn't had as many fights because things have kept him out. COVID kept him out, then injuries. But he's back. He's ready to go, and he wants to make a statement. Many people might not know me or they might have forgot about me, but I am here, and I am the man in New England. He's got a tall task. Both of these guys do. So Sam Watford taking on Cam Brzezinski, gonna be a great fight. And these are back-to-back welterweight fights in the professional ranks. That is definitely gonna spice up the division. And I can't wait to see kind of how things go, not only on September 23rd, but from here, where some of these pieces can kind of start putting together. There you go. Let's see what else I got. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is another good one. Here we go. I know it's this way. Here we go. So next up, our featured fight before we get to our main and co-main event is I helped sell a shit ton of tickets. One better be feeling me up. Shout out to Rob Pico. I think he's alluded. He set a record. He sold 30. As a fan, his group is 32 all front row tickets. For everybody who's been hitting me up, ask for front row. There's all the front row tickets there with Rob Pico. Anyways, next up in our feature fight of the night, Zach DiSabatino, Mr. Cage Titans, all his amateur fights with Cage Titans, all his pro fights with Cage Titans, 11-3 as a pro. I think he was 6-0-1 as an amateur. This kid has done it all within the Cage Titans cage. He is coming back again to take on Nate Williams. Nate Williams, remember the name. He keeps saying, I'm going to make the hall remember my name again. He was the main event in Cage Titans' first event back from COVID, Cage Titans 48, where he took on Don Shainis, and he was victorious in a 3-round decision against Don Shainis. So he's no stranger to traveling up to Plymouth, hearing the hall go crazy for his opponent, and then quickly go quiet. He's saying it on all the posts that have been going up. He's going to make the hall remember his name once again. And it's motivating him that how quickly the hall was so loud last time and it was dead silent. And he's looking to do that again. This is going to be a crazy fight. And this is a cool fight because a lot of things could happen with this fight. DSAB's 11-3. Where is his career going? Like, he's kind of hit the ceiling with Cage Titans in terms of a title fight because of Joe Giannetti, who's a teammate of his, has held the belt for so long. So it's like he's never going to really go and fight Joe, but he could just completely not have to get a belt. And if he pulls a win out here, he could get to the UFC or Contender Series fight. There's some interesting things going on with DSAB. If Giannetti loses the belt to Dufort, DSAB win could put him right there in line for a fight at the lightweight fight title. Now you flip to the Nate Williams side. Nate Williams was scheduled to fight for the Don Shainis for the featherweight title. He missed weight in that fight, so I do have to point that out. And the fight was moved to 55. So he wants that 55 title fight. He felt that, last time he was victorious, but he was supposed to come in at featherweight. He came in heavy. We did the fight at lightweight. That he felt that fight over Don Shainis made him the number one contender and wants a title fight. Scheduling and timing. He's a firefighter down in Atlanta. A lot of things just haven't made the timing work, but the timing couldn't be better. These two are going to lock up. And Nate, remember the name Williams, Nasty Nate, is hoping people remember his name. He's going to pick up this big victory at lightweight. And he said, give me the mic right when I'm done. And he knows who he's calling for. So a lot of interesting things could happen with this fight. So there you have it. Zach DiSabatino taking on Nasty Nate Williams. There we go. Anyone that can make the hall quiet deserves respect. Yeah, Nate was very impressive. And here we go. And last but not least, second last is our heavyweight title fight. So we're going to go right into the title fights. The big boys are up. Josh Marsh taking on Ross Hilton. And this is, you notice the two next to it. This is the second time these guys fought. Josh Marsh handed Ross Hilton his very first professional loss of his career. Yes, it was 6 years ago, but that was Ross Hilton's very first loss of his career. Now, when Hilton beat Battles for this heavyweight title and becoming the first ever Cage Titans heavyweight title professional holder, Marsh's team was like, hey, listen, we beat him once. What's the chances we can get up there and try to get a shot at this belt and take that belt back to Florida? He was already in the comments earlier saying the belt's coming back to Florida. Josh Marsh, Ross Hilton too. Go watch their first fight. There's a lot of, this was many years ago. So like sometimes you can go look back to see the first fight and be like, all right, that's going to be exactly what's going to happen again. But there's been a lot of time that has passed since that fight. So I'm very interested to see what type of adjustments been made. Marsh was very confident in his team in calling for this fight. And Ross kind of was like, you know what? After he beat Battles, he was like, there's a lot of guys calling for rematches, but I just really don't have any interest in rematches. I'd really prefer not to do rematches. I want to fight new opposition, get new looks, new people. And when Marsh's name was like openly calling him out, he goes, you know what? My first professional loss, if I'm ever going to do a rematch in my career, I guess that would be the one to do it. This fight should be crazy. Ross is looking to really solidify himself. When in talking to Ross, a lot of people just wrote him off in that Battles fight. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to say he's disrespected. I don't want to put words in his mouth. The guy's the most gentlemanly person I've met. But maybe I will put some words in his mouth. It'd be hard for me not to think that he was not thinking everybody's writing me out and I was brought in and I was supposed to get my ass kicked. No one gave me a chance against Battles. And then he wins. And the story after he wins, the perception was, well, Battles got tired. So you took over after he got tired. You didn't win, but he kind of beat himself because he got tired. So I'm telling you, Ross is probably very motivated to kind of stamp this one out and put on a definitive, no questions asked type performance. Remember for people that might feel that way about Ross, like, hey, listen, man, he didn't win. Battles just got tired. Like, those were still him, defending when Battles was doing the takedowns and all that stuff. There was still him throwing the strikes that put him away. Like this guy, though we have fun with the Rasquash persona and the 6'7", the big foot, all this stuff, like this kid is a killer, like 10 wins as a pro. I think 8 or 9 of them out of the 10 are knockouts. This kid comes firing. So this is going to be fun. Another little good, cool thing, this upcoming Saturday, September 9th, myself and the Rasquash himself will be down in Plymouth. We're going to be doing a Spot the Rasquash contest, very similar to Sasquatch. We're going to be going around Plymouth, popping around different bars downtown. And if you come find us, take a picture with him in the belt. We're going to do some fun contests. We'll have some swag. We'll have some free tickets. So we're going to have a little fun with it. So this upcoming Saturday night in Plymouth, downtown Plymouth, Saturday, September 9th, Spot the Rasquash downtown Plymouth. Come find us, get some tickets. Maybe we'll buy your round of beers, whatever we got. We're going to do some cool stuff. So come see us. But there you have it. Joshua Marsh taking on Ross Hilton for the second time. And Marsh is coming heavy, man. Sutton and those boys down at Carlson Gracie, they're preparing him to take this guy out. And they want this belt. They want it back in Florida. These guys are very confident in their fighter. They're very confident in their abilities. And they're coming, man. And it's going to be an amazing fight. So they have Josh Marsh and Ross Hilton too. And closing out the night, as Rob Pico already said, the Suzuki 11 bench ain't leaving Plymouth. So there you go. Joe Giannetti, the Cage Titans lightweight and welterweight champion, taking on Michael Dufort. We announced this fight back in July, and it just was insane, like the amount of publicity and hype that's gone behind this fight. Joe Giannetti, former Ultimate Fighter finalist, made it all the way finale. Cage Titans lightweight champion, Cage Titans welterweight champion. He was a Cage Titans amateur champion. Like, this guy's been around. Everybody says he's the guy in New England that's like, how did he not get back into the UFC? I think in history, there's only been one finalist on the Ultimate Fighter that didn't get into the UFC, after their season. He's been doing everything he can, shouting from the mountaintops, winning titles at 55, 70, whatever he's had to do. And it's come to the point he's like, listen, I don't care who the hell they are, the biggest, the baddest, whatever you got, throw them at me, and they're not going to deny me anymore. And he's got a huge task. And 11-4, Dufort. Dufort is ranked 8th in the country. That lightweight's not signed to the UFC. And man, what a splash he made. We brought him in for the stare down back in July. He busted out. I said to him, because he's from Canada, and as you can see, we've actually, for the first time ever, we've put flags up on the posters, because I always thought it's funny. Like I saw some promotions do flags on posters. It's like when everybody's from the United States, it's kind of silly. But for the first time, we have got flags that we can actually fly, and they're not all American. But either way, Dufort comes in from Canada, Montreal, and I said, oh, listen, man, if you want to bring a flag, if you want to do something fun, whatever you want to do, feel free. And he's like, I got something. Don't worry. As he shows up to the venue, he had like a brown paper bag. And I'm like, I wonder what the hell's in that bag. No clue. We call him in the cage. Sure as shit. He's wearing a 3-piece suit. Best looking guy in the building. And he pulls the bag, opens the bag, pulls out the Canadian jersey, throws it on. The place erupts. And this stare down that they had has already been not only picked up by MMA sites, it's been picking up by hockey sites as well. So a lot of national attention, like in how to piss off Bruin fans, things like that. So this video's gotten a lot of play, a lot of hype, but don't let it fool you. Like, don't think that this is just all hype. This is the fight to watch. And I'm going to say it in the lightweight division in any promotion in the month of September. Like, I'm not going to go crazy and be like, this is the fight in the lightweight division all year. But in all the promotions across the country in this month, I can tell you this. I'm being very specific, but the magnitude of this fight is huge. I'm just telling you that. And, there is fights that we've had that have been pretty big scale, but this is a fight that is national attention, guys that are right at the cusp. And this is the fight that no ifs, ands, or buts. Whoever wins this fight is probably most likely, I'm not going to bet $1 million on it, but I promise you, you're going to see whoever wins this fight in the UFC. There's just no doubt about it. That's the type of fight this is. Hats off to both guys, because sometimes when you get guys that are right at that cusp, they start wanting to protect themselves. Every fight's a little too risky. Oh man, if I take a loss when I'm this close, maybe I'll get knocked back down and I get a little further away. So they start getting a little bit like more careful when they get this close to the UFC. I think both these guys are right there. They're both super full of confidence that they're like, fuck it, I'm taking this fight because I know I'm going to beat the other one. Follow all social media. They've been super active. Joe's out at AKA. Dufort's out at H2O. Dufort trains at Aubin Mercier. They were just at PFL. I think he made it to the finals. He did some interviews while he was out there at the PFL in New York 2 weeks ago. And Joe's out at AKA. He took the Skeletor bus out there again. He's training with all the killers over at AKA, Dan Cormier and those guys. So, yeah, man, these guys are putting it all on the line. And again, this is a UFC caliber fight here in Plymouth at Memorial Hall. Definitely don't want to miss this main event. We're super pumped for it. All right. I'm not even going to acknowledge Zach Cyril. I'm just going to go here. I'm going to go quickly. Here you go. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. No particular order. There you go. So you got faces with a name. Brandon Demora, Ashrau. Talk about them. Zachary Sabatino, Nate Williams. I hope they're scrolling as I'm doing this. Bobby Flynn taking on Sage Philippe as a professional fight. Main event, Giannetti versus Dufort. I don't think they're scrolling. Graham versus Lombard. Oh, here they go. There. I'm on a delay over here on my screen. Hassan Graham versus Lombard. Ahib Jackson versus Anthony Ofiale, amateur lightweight title fight. Bambino Phil Lucino taking on Xavier Cardona. Our co-main event, Joshua Marsh taking on Ross Hilton. I talked about this fight Timmy Melvin, Jaden Curley. And I wish I could have these scrolling when I was actually talking. And if you rewind and see what I said about Timmy Melvin, look at his picture and you'll know, like, just very unassuming, very baby face, straight laced guy, but he is a killer. 2-0, 2 knockouts on his record, taking on Jaden Curley. This fight should be a bananas fight. Ray and Nichols taking on Ryan Kennedy. Got the Bokniak School versus the Lausanne School. And Brian Nichols, whose brother Blaze is also fighting on this card. Cam Rosniski taking on Sam Watford. Miguel Savesin, Oscar Vera. Travis Soulard and Danny Jefferson. I got people in the comments that said this is the best looking fight on the card. Just sharing what the people say. Carter Whitty taking on Blaze Nichols. If you go back and watch my preview of this fight, now you can put a face and name and all the things I was talking about. Blaze, just like very unassuming. I think I said I would find him on the playground. Like, this kid is very unassuming, but he comes with a stoic demeanor and a killer instinct. He showed it in his debut. Can't wait to see this fight because, again, everybody's telling me Carter Whitty's the same. This kid's destined for good things. So this fight should be one you definitely want to see. All right. I think that's it. I think that's all the pictures. So there's 3 people that didn't have pictures on. And if I didn't have a picture on you, that's because you haven't sent them to me. So once I get all the pictures, I think the fights that I don't have the pictures on, Connor Luby and Josh Robertson, Paul Huber versus Mike Salazar, and Ryan Wackrow versus Kyle Schofield. So those are the 3 that you didn't get to see pictures on. Let's see. Catching up on questions. Has there been another pair of siblings fight on the same card before, or will the Nichols boys be the first? I'll take you brothers on the same card and one up you. How about twins on the same card? I believe Brett and Brandon Layton fought on the same card. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they both fought on the same card. I'm looking up the record real quick. Let's see, Brandon Layton. Somebody, if you can beat me to it, feel free. Throw it in the comments. Layton fought on Cage Titans 9-7. Oh, the combat night. 9-7, 9-7, 19. Yep, the Layton brothers. Brett was victorious against Mike Murphy. Brandon came up short against Tyreem De Silva. So the Layton brothers. Let's see. So there's your question answered. And I think there's been a father and son, Ramo and Mark Cardarelli, fought on the same card. We've had husband and wife, Keegan Hornstra and Adina Hornstra, fight on the same card. There might have been other brothers, but I think that's it for the Sparrow brothers. Actually throwing back. And Bobby, if he's still watching, I think the Sparrow brothers might have fought. They go back to like 2012, but there you go. But anyways, let me know if Connor Luby's opponent, my teammate, has been trying to get a fight with him for a while. Okay. I will throw this comment out because, Zach, it is funny. Keegan is the wife. Keegan fought in Cage Titans when we have a long relationship. Good. But anyways, I said I was going to be short, and I still ended up going an hour. I thought it was going to be 15 minutes and I could go through these cards. But Andy is back next week. We'll give you a full breakdown. You might have to listen again to some of the stuff that I'm going to throw at you. But Andy will really kind of get in depth, talk about some of the stuff that he's seen in these guys' fights. And, he's more in depth on the analyst type area, and he'll be able to really dive into it, and you'll hear some good things. I think next week we're going to get Joshua Marsh on. Maybe we'll try to get Giannetti to call in. Possibly we'll get Dufort to call in the next 2 weeks. We got 2 more episodes before the card, I believe. What are we on, the 4th? We got the 4th, the 11th, 18th. So we got 2 more weeks. So we'll try to get everybody on as we can. And this is always open invite. So if you want to be on the show, all you got to do is simply message us, throw it in the comments. I'll send you the stream link. I send you the link. You open it up on your phone, and there you are. We'll put your face right on, and you could be talking to everybody, breaking down your fight, talking about a teammate's fight, whatever you want. We don't want to be talking for hours straight. We want this to be your show just as much as it's ours. So any open invite to anybody besides Zach Cyril who wants to call. And just let me know. Send me a DM or simply shoot me a comment. And while the show is live, I can actually send you the link and just bring you in kind of impromptu. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much. Go to CageScienceFC.com to go through the entire fight card that I gave you today. Go to CageScienceFC.com to get your tickets for the show. If you cannot get in touch with one of your favorite fighters, all the fighters do have tickets in hand. As always, follow all of our social media across the board: TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. Make sure you go on all those to follow Cage Titans, and we'll see you at the fights. Well, actually, tomorrow, cheap plug, TikTok Tuesday. Head on over to Cage Titans, the 12 at 12 tomorrow with me and my buddy Kin Moy. We talk all things Cage Titans. We talk all things MMA. We get into the, the mental aspect of fighting sometimes, all kinds of different subjects that we talk about, marketing aspect of fighting. There's always things to talk about. So tomorrow, the 12 at 12 with me and Kin Moy. Tune in for that. And if not, we'll see you next week.